WCSC TV Charleston. Live 5 News at 5 starts now.
Coretta Scott King, honored for keeping the dream alive.
In that life, Coretta Scott King knew danger, she knew injustice, she knew sudden and terrible grief. She also knew that her Redeemer lives.
How presidents, family, and friends remember the First Lady of the Civil Rights Movement.
We love you, Coretta, and we will miss you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bill Sharp. Thanks for joining us on this special edition of Live 5 News at 5.
And I'm Ann McGill, live in Lithonia, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, where the world is saying goodbye to Coretta Scott King. It's now 5 o'clock. We initially anticipated that her homegoing service would end around 3 o'clock, but there are still a few more speakers to go, and we still have yet to hear from the King's youngest daughter, Reverend Bernice King, who will deliver her mother's eulogy this afternoon. The service is being held at the Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Lithonia. This is about 20 miles from downtown Atlanta, where Mrs. King's body will be placed in a crypt at the end of the service today. Now, we caught up with some local leaders from the Charleston area who wanted to come to the Atlanta area personally to say goodbye to Coretta Scott King. We caught up with them, and while they were waiting in line, they were pondering, now what? Now that Mrs. King is gone, who will now continue the dream, and what will happen now? Who will carry on the work now that Mrs. King is gone? Here's what they had to say as they waited in line to pay their respects to Mrs. King. As they waited with hundreds of others who arrived early outside Birth Missionary Baptist Church, Charleston City Councilman Wendell Gilliard and Elder James Johnson sang the praises of Coretta Scott King.
She carried the torch with dignity and grace. It's an old saying back home in Charleston, first God called the king, and now he's called the queen. They have left us. We still have work to do. We must carry on her legacy.
It was very, very warm feeling that Mrs. King played a very important part in my life, and my grandkids' life, and they may not realize it, but one day they will.
Generation of civil rights leaders.
All our leaders are dying. They must pick up the baton and run with it. They must get an education. It's very important that they get an education to fight this fight.
As her husband did almost 40 years ago, Coretta Scott King now takes her final rest from a lifetime of service. As local Lowcountry leaders mourn her death, they say the work is not done yet.
We must stand up. We must be committed, get involved to stamp out racism, register to vote, clean our communities of drugs. Let's stand for what's right if we believe in Dr. King and Coretta Scott King.
And Councilman Wendell Gilliard and Elder James Johnson have been here since about 6:30 this morning. They waited in line last night downtown to view her body at Ebenezer, but the wait was so long, so they went back to their hotel rooms. We're told 115,000 people viewed her body last night downtown. The last person left that church at 2:10 this morning. So again, a lot of people came here today to Birth Missionary Baptist Church for the chance to view Mrs. King and to pay their final respects. We hope to talk with Councilman Gilliard and Elder Johnson after the service to find out how they went today and what they witnessed inside of the church. So, Bill, we still may have a little while to go yet here. Again, we have to wait for Reverend Bernice King to deliver the eulogy for her mother still this afternoon.
All right, Ann McGill live in Lithonia, Georgia, outside Atlanta for the funeral for Mrs. King. Ann, we'll talk to you in a few minutes again. Thanks so much.